You're listening to the Absolutely Cosmic Podcast.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to the Absolutely Cosmic Podcast with your host, Joshua Salgado. So, before we get into it, I want to just discuss what are we going to talk about today. I'm hyped up. I'm taking my caffeine. I'm about to go work out. I'm like, you know what? Let's knock out technically the first, but it's not really the first episode because the first episode I got to interview an awesome professional MMA fighter he trains out of my hometown. So that was a brilliant, thing. But this episode is going to talk about why I started a podcast and hopefully inspire you guys to get started on your journey. So before we get into it, I just want to let out some thanks. I want to thank my family, my mother, my brother, my girlfriend, those who have been in my inner circle, and I've shared some of the hardest times, not with, but I've shared that struggle, right? They know about how much I've struggled in this past year. I want to thank my friends, because some of those friends also know how much I've struggled. Maybe to a little bit of a lesser extent, but that's just because I don't want to burden anyone, And then, lastly, the mentors in my life, and I separate these into two. The excellent mentors who have taught me, who have guided me, who have given me just snippets of wisdom that I've utilized, right? Or may have not utilized, but it's just like, oh, snap, I know somebody that may use that, or one day my kids may use that, right? It's just wisdom, right? I appreciate those individuals and everybody who check in on me regularly, who are there for me, who are supportive. That net structure, it's exhilarating, and it makes me want to be even better than I was before. For you guys, for myself, for the future, And I want to say thank you to the mentors that may have not been so great in my life. The individuals who may have not done the greatest things to me or my friends or family, that inner circle, right? Because you guys still taught me a lesson on who not to be, on how to go about and who to be, right? Even though it wasn't the best feeling at the moment, I learned a lot from the character of those individuals and how to be a better person. So, why I started this podcast? Well, this kind of segues into that first segment about why. In my 24 years of living, I feel like, I may have lived about a quarter of what the average, about what the average human lives up to. Humans live up to about 100 years old or close to that. And usually 24 years is kind of that quarter point, right? Where things are starting to move, but you're still building. And that's certainly true, but I've experienced so many amazing things and exhilarating things, and I have a passion to share it because I see a lot of people in my age group, a little bit younger, that struggle so hard in today's society and culture. And I feel it's a very, very, there's not a clear set path as there may have been for the generations before us on how to go out things and live. And with social media, with internet, with movies, with everything the way they are today, I feel like sometimes it can be very misguiding or confusing. Excuse me. It can be very confusing for the individuals. And with my experiences that I've experienced so far, between joining the military and being a Air Force operator, and no, I'm not Special Forces, so don't think that way. Saying Air Force operator is kind of cool. I'm a loadmaster. Actually, on one of my previous social media accounts that I tried to do something with, you can actually see I had something called Loadmaster Reacts. If you look up J Salgado Studios on, I think, YouTube and Instagram, there's like a series. I would do it like once a week. Anyway, but as a loadmaster, I got to deploy to an expeditionary environment, into a region near the Horn of Africa. And to me, that changed my life and understanding of humanity, right? It widened my understanding. I was raised, right, in this how do you even explain? I'm from New England, so we have this patriotic, culture that's based on so many factors, based on our culture, based on our history, based on everything, right? And then you take me, right? And you literally, and obviously our unit, but you get transported into this country that's totally different, right? The forefathers, the people that built their country, the heroes, the movie stars, everything is different. Everything is totally different. It's the human experience, right? It's the human culture, right? But you don't realize how wide that can be, right? When you go there and you feel like you're in a different planet, because all of even if you look at the architecture of our buildings, you look at the culture of all of our stores and businesses, you look at the culture of our school system, you look at the culture of our language, you look at the culture of everything that you have been raised to understand as quote unquote, air quotes, normal. And then you go somewhere else, your mind's just blown because you feel like you're on another planet. I felt like I was like in a Star Wars planet, I'm like, wait a second. This is the human experience. I was like, this makes sense. And then as a loadmaster, looking out the window and seeing just land and land and land and land and land and land of African savanna, African wildlands, beautiful. Beautiful lands. And how vast the world is. It really helped me realize one of the biggest lessons is part of the reason why I'm motivated to do this kind of stuff. The world is so vast. Why are you caring about what other people think or about your insecurities? The world is huge. Billions of people. I can't even fathom that, but it's easy it's a little bit easier to understand now that I've traveled to a totally different world, right? A totally different culture, right? And seen it, it's like, whoa, everything is vast. Everything is different. That means that my dreams and goals, if they fail, if I look like an idiot, it doesn't really matter that much. You're caring about what people think too much. And that's just one of the lessons overall that I want to share over doing these podcasts. I want to share, my fitness journey and how to go about that, from, like I said, more maybe the emotional or philosophical side of just getting after the goals in general, but also sharing what, techniques I used, what training programs I used, what nutritional styles that I use, or diets, if you want to call it that. Things like that. I want to be able to share that with you guys. Over a course of the next 6 months to a year, we'll have content like that covered. And then I'm a nerd. Like, I'm a big freaking nerd. I love comic books. I love, freaking Star Wars and movies and things like that. I love that shit. Excuse me, I swore. Wow. I love that stuff. So, I want to share that and talk about that and just go crazy about it, right? I want to be able to be myself and just ramble into a microphone, looking at a webcam, in the morning, and actually just make some stuff, But to go back to this whole lesson point, right? Before I joined the military, I wanted to join a different branch before becoming a loadmaster, right? Being blessed in the opportunity that I got, right? So the day after I turned 17, I was in the recruiter's office for the Marine Corps, signing paperwork to try to join. I was wearing bilateral club feet, and I did not realize how difficult that would have made it to join. But I am very thankful that I had those failures because, one, I ended up in a really cool job where I've met a lot of cool people. I've got to work with a lot of cool different military organizations. Maybe we'll tell some stories about that. But gone to travel across the world and do and move some cool stuff, that's phenomenal. That's unbelievably insane to be able to fathom that I could do such a thing. Beyond what I ever thought I could do or experience, And, that journey of, my mobility in my club feet is different, I guess I should say. I don't think it's necessarily limited because I can lift, I can run, I can do everything that a normal person can, and I don't really feel much pain in my feet too much, other than I think what the normal person would feel if they were to, hurt it or go too much on it, right? So, through that struggle of, okay, let's try to get in again. Okay, failed. Let's try to get in again. Let's try to get in again. I went to a congressional inquiry. I remember I was at work. I was working at Walgreens at the time, and the the investigator behind the inquiry that I placed through, because I had to go through my senator, right? I went through his VA secretary, and then, you know, I got a call from Quantico, Virginia, and it was a Marine Corps investigator. We're gonna look into it, kind of thing, and then it didn't go through. I got permanently disqualified. That was the notion, and so that that branch, the door was closed, and I was like, well, what am I gonna do? I want to go to school too. The military pays for school. I'm working basically a minimum wage job. I don't know what I'm gonna do, and this is where my journey about finances. During this time, I was reading Rich Dad Poor Dad. I was experimenting with different businesses and stuff, but I was also at the point where I didn't believe in myself enough to actually pursue anything. I didn't have that heart to be like, screw it, let's just do it and see what happens. I was so worried about everything else in life, and we'll get into, because some of these lessons is because I was in that boat. And eventually, I waited a little bit to let the medical stuff expire, essentially, so that I could get another fresh chance with recruiters. I checked into the Navy because I was going to be like, I'll be an FMF, try to be a Greenside Corpsman, right? That would be a move, right? And then I looked in the Air Force, and I was like, I want to be a CCT. I'm tough. And at that time, I was running every day. Like, I would put a 20-pound weighted vest, and I'd run 4 miles. It was fucking crazy. And I would put like gravel in my backpack and go hike 2-3 miles. And then I'd walk 45 minutes to the gym, or run 45 minutes. Well, it wasn't 45 minutes, but run about 2 miles to the gym, lift, do my cardio, and then run back. So I got into probably some of the best cardio shape, I guess. I was the fastest I'd ever been at that point. And yeah, I was running like a 9-minute and change, 1.5 miles ish, give or take a little bit. I felt like I was there, so I was like, I'm gonna be a CCT, if I'm gonna, and I was ignorant, right? I was like, if I'm gonna join the Air Force, I'm gonna go hardcore and be special forces, special missions, which they call battlefield airmen. So talking with active duty recruiter, my buddy who's over at the guard side, he's like, hey, listen, why don't you come over and try to be a load master? I'm like, what the hell is a load master? That sounds weird. Like, I don't want to be a master of the load, like. So I YouTubed it, and I saw what they did, where, airdrop, right? And I've done many of them now, but, dropping things at the back of the plane, your ramping doors open it up. And my face right now was exactly like that. I was like, I got to do that. Like, that's awesome. Like, I don't even care. Like, just literally seeing something fly out the back of a plane was what got me. That was the best recruiting tool ever. It was just literally somebody who probably was a load master or some sort of air crew, literally put a little edit together. And that inspired me. I was like, I'm sold. Like, I don't need to be a special operations guy. I want to do this. And honestly, it was relatively smooth sailing after that, more or less. I got through my medical thing. The same doctor that disqualified me all those years before for the Marine Corps, when he saw me again, he's like, holy hell, you're fit, sir. And I was like, yes, I am. And I was like, thank you. And he was like, we can sign you up to the Marine Corps. And I was like, no. I'm going to go and go with the Air Force. I'm set on what I want. And since then, I literally waited to go to training. It took a while. But I went to training. I got back. I did some more training to get upped and ready to go. I was good on that level, and then deployed. And that deployment changed me again. Like I said, it widened my view. And during this time, I went through from training really hard. I wasn't lifting as much, right? I wasn't actually pursuing lifting, right? Oh, look at these guns, and they're not that big. But I wasn't pursuing lifting as much. And then, I went to training. I started actually getting into lifting a little more than I was, right? Pushing a little bit harder. And it wasn't really until I got back from training and I finished all my indoc, is what we call, that I realized, oh, hell, I gained some weight. I was 196 and it was a lot of fat. It was not much muscle. And from there, I was like, okay, it's time to make a change. It's time to... So a few months before deployment, I started trying to lose weight and just lifting really hard. I wasn't really doing cardio. And then on deployment, I got really in shape. Like, I mean, I was shredded to the core. Like, I had the deep V in that groin area. I had abs, like, and yeah, my fitness, I mean, what I did for that was insane. I don't know if I could do that again stateside, maybe deployed again, but yeah, so there was that. And I feel like the lessons that I've learned, not only from that, but from life in general, and seeing things growing up in a small city, I guess. I grew up in Bristol, Connecticut. I'm not going to name any names, but is an NFL player that was famous from my town. There's several, famous people from the surrounding area. I am not in the veins of Myron Gaines, but he's actually from New Britain, which I was born in New Britain Hospital. Like, this is the crazy stuff. I'm giving a lot of personal information, but all this stuff, like, I don't care. What are you going to do with it? What hospital I was born in, So, yeah. This, I've learned a lot of life lessons, and on top of that, I want to interview as many different kinds of people from all different kinds of fields, whether it's from the fitness world, whether it's from the, any type of world or any type of occupation, any type of hobby, anything, right? I want to get them on the podcast. I want to have fun. I want to be a goofball. I want to be crazy. I want to talk about some weird shit, some cool shit, some crazy stuff, life lessons, fitness stuff, whatever it is, right? So I want to say thank you to everyone for listening today. But before we leave, I want to leave you with this. So, I know goddamn well that I will be... Listen, before we leave, I'm going to leave you with this. If you're afraid to accomplish those damn goals, if you're afraid to pursue something, right? Why? Ask yourself why. Really dig deep why. What the fuck is the reason why you're not going to attempt something? Is it because what other people think of you? Is it because what you think of yourself? Because at the end of the day, that's what it is. You can accomplish literally anything, especially nowadays. The information is out there. We're going to have a lesson talking about how to start the path of changing your life that way. What I've done and what I do whenever I want to start a goal. Whenever I want to finish a goal. Whenever I hit an obstacle. What is my mental system in place to get me where I need to be? There's a lot of influencers out there right now who are just doing things for views, doing things for clicks. There's no reason, there's no rhyme behind what they're doing. And I want to tell you one damn thing. This podcast, you're going to meet the co-host. You're going to meet a lot of interviewers, but this podcast is going to hit hard. When I tell you the viewers are like no others, they are like the pit bulls of the generation. They are like the beasts. All you viewers listening to this stuff, you guys are probably on some sort of journey yourself or want to start a journey of self-improvement. And that's at the end of the day, that's at the end of the core. That's what we're striving for here, is full self-improvement, to become the greatest version of yourself and constantly being towards that goal, pushing towards that. Regardless of how painful it is, regardless of how pissed off you are, regardless of how much it sucks, regardless of what you have or you don't have. What resources you have or you don't have, I don't care. I don't care. You are going to get there. So that is why we are making this video. Expect to have at least one video a month expect to have at least one video a week. Hopefully anywhere from 20 to 45 minutes in length. And then my goal is to at least interview one person a month. So 12 interviews a year and 52 podcasts a year. And they could be more for the interview side or co-host side. We'll see, though. I have plenty of topics already to talk about, already set up. So don't you damn worry, my ladies and gentlemen. And thank you for listening. And if you're interested in more content, if you're interested in this, then please follow in whatever platform you're listening. We're going to be on the typical podcast platforms, hopefully Apple, Spotify, and Pandora. We're going to be on YouTube And then we're also on TikTok. We're also on Instagram. We're also on Facebook Reels, Facebook, that platform. We have a page, as well as Instagram Reels. And then Twitter and LinkedIn, hopefully coming soon, because I am just one guy operating this whole thing. So if you want to check out the merch, you can check out at cosmicabsolute.com and get you some merch. We have some holiday merch coming up. I still have the Thanksgiving stuff up because I believe that Thanksgiving is one of the best holidays because food is amazing. So again, if you guys enjoyed this video, if you guys are hyped up, you guys are ready for the series, if you guys want to start watching, please give a like. Please comment. I want to engage with you. I want to talk with you personally. So let's get it. Peace, guys.
Thank you for listening. Consider absolutely smashing the subscribe button for more content like this.